And welcome back, everybody, to game number one of Lions versus Drake, the Vondel battles. It's time to get this thing started, and we're starting it off right with Diazbiffle off the rip, who is obviously our winners in back-to-back-to-back weeks. All three of our first weeks looking to take it in week number 4 and keeping it consistent, man. They love to land over here in market, and it seems to be working. Don't fix what's not broken.
Is the 4P possible? That's going to be the biggest question we will ask consistently throughout this broadcast for Biffle and Company. Another day in the office, business as usual, but you cannot account the fact that they are just on a roll late in this tournament. Our 4th week, one of the most important ones for a lot of squads, but for the leaders here on the Drake side, they have everything they need to block up this week, secure more money, more points, and get themselves available for that championship round next week.
Oh, already starting off hot. Looks like that's going to be a down quickly, pushing in for the finish. And he's going to get that relatively soon. That's 2. So that already, right? 2 eliminations. And something I didn't bring up, by the way, in the beginning, or maybe I did bring it up, but I'll bring it up again. I think it's important for everybody to know. Diazbiffle is our elimination leader event from weeks 1, week 2, and week 3. Shifty was a second elimination leader last week. He was just below that of Diazbiffle. So you've got 2 of the most slay-heavy individuals playing on the same team, which is maybe not even fair, but either way, we see a good example. Shifty beaming down one player. Space, again, off to a great start.
And I think it's also important to remember that we talked a little bit about Destroy, Foreign Jason, Ebates in the pregame. Of course, Biffle was the first one to take down Ebates, so you start to see a little bit of similarities there, but also his teammate picking up Ahsoka early. So whether or not that spells interesting storylines to boot, that only happen as the day progresses. But the fact that we're already seeing some of those opening gunfights happen, going the way of Biffle and Company, against some of those likable players, those notable ones with storylines going into today, it is an interesting factor that we'll keep our eye on.
All right, got some loadouts coming in. Things start to mature a bit. And things are going to continue to get fun for this trio. They're just going to kind of stay where they're at. I mean, there's no reason for them to move. It seems like everybody loves to challenge them, and why not if you're the winners in all 3 of the first weeks. On to Smixy. Storyline we brought here was want to see them get a bit mixy in the beginning as opposed to being passive, which is something they've been doing. And again, that's not a bad strategy, but it's not a winning strategy for this trio. And we did see Flanked. He comes back into the mix. He lost his life a little bit earlier, but it seems like they are finding themselves into some fights, so maybe they are getting a bit aggressive off the rip.
Well, not as much on the outskirts that we've seen in prior weeks, where this one a little bit more central. And I think, again, just maybe a small change of the approach could open up the floodgates of everything else they've been trying to execute. Maybe it was just about where they drop early. So we'll see whether or not it does pay off, just trying to fight for the kits and get yourself fully kitted up as the last couple of fights do ensue. For the moment, though, still plenty of squads and teams up. And this is where things get really interesting, right? Because now they can start taking some of those aerial fights they didn't have prior when she scouts waiting just to act as a organic UAV. This is where this team can really shine. They can really start to pick up eliminations early on and then help with the multiplayer late game if they survive long enough.
At Cronin, it's singing, and it's going to result in a down and a finish. Her first one of the day of week number 4. Good on her. Luckman also as a secondary, which is going to be great for those up-close fights. We saw a lot of TAC V last week, more specifically TAC V with iron sights. It seemed to be the meta. We'll see if that continues to be the meta, as I haven't seen too many TACs used so far, but it's still early goings, and a loadout drops might not have been acquired so far. Up we go, though, is Joewo. Nice, steady shot. Space, that's going to be a down and a finish.
And nice cleanup with the Cronin as well. We saw it, what, in week 2, when you have to watch your back, Huskerrs had to be careful. He wasn't. He got picked off, so using the advantage, as always, again, the zip lines will help you get the altitude gain back in your pocket, but also give you a chance to traverse and get back in rotation if the zone does require it. For the moment, though, not going to relinquish this for long, as Joewo looks like he's on an absolute roll to start. Already has 2 eliminations to his name, 47 players still alive, including the man on your screen. And you can hear him saying, look, they're just launching the loadouts. So if that's the case, we can start to isolate and triangulate on these players. And if you take them out, it's more eliminations on the board.
We're here at University, which is a very common area to be in. I know Aydan and co used to like to land here. I don't know if they're going to continue to do so, but maybe could be a theme between those 2 teams, which we haven't seen Aydan's perspective just yet, but we know he's not playing with Adrian today. It's instead going to be Clutch Belt. Joewo, though, is not holding back, and he's going to get another finish onto a player to put him up to 3. A wonderful start, and we're going to find teams and watch teams that will stay where they land because it's resurgence. Teams are going to consistently come back for those revenge eliminations. Maybe what happened to Limax, who's up top, who's currently down.
Well, they certainly used the loadout drop to, again, bait players into position, pick them off at range. Not relinquishing their position for the moment. If they need to go for a kit, they can, but it looks like they're very comfortable with the loadouts they have at the moment, which is perfectly fine, right? You've already done enough work in the pregame to get you the weapons you want. You get the UAV to help. The extra pings are less about moving on to players and more about positioning yourself in the best case scenario to clean up stragglers as they rotate out of the zone, through the middle of the map. Got about a minute 9 until that second zone will begin to lock in. I like the patience late after this early zone. They're just kind of taking their time to pick off players and really focus on where they want to move next.
Going to happen in waves. I mean, you've got time with Resurgence, and really things start to heat up when those zones get smaller and smaller. Maybe we get into like Zone 4, Zone 5, and then you have ultimately the Resurgence ending where everybody's kind of playing their lives. You run into a little bit more solos, maybe some duos. You could take advantage of the man advantage in that case, a 3v1, 3v2. Yep. So that's where a lot of the elims are going to happen. But for now, though, I will say I am very surprised at how hot this area is. For Joewo, this could very well be one of the highest scoring games we have seen from them.
Respawn still love him, but that was Rios going down again. Rios stepping in for FIFA Kill and company. FIFA Kill, of course, out. Oki out as well. We got 2 subs on that trio. So keep an eye on them. We'll see how they do today. But FIFA Kill not being here, of course, going to be a tough one for that squad. They turn things around. The beauty of, I think, to this week's event is that we have so many substitutions that anything's possible.
It's true.
But if you're the likes of Biffle and company, you're also thinking, all right, like, we don't have to worry about X player or Y player. We can just focus on getting kills, and we're good. We're golden. But right now, I mean, look, Breadman and company, they have been locking up eliminations. Now, of course, you get the sniper in his hands like we expected. It comes to fruition. They have not moved. They've been winning gunfights on the challenge, holding their position. Nicely done.
Nicely done indeed, Space. Really impressed, honestly. He's got 3. I think Joewo had 3 or so. So they're looking at breaking into double digits relatively soon if this pacing continues. And something to take note of as well is this has been a relatively quick lobby. We start with 20. We're already down to 17. So already lost, what, 3 teams at this point, or at least a couple, so not bad at all. And now we go into the graveyard where we're going to see Diazbiffle kind of pushing out. He's sitting at 4 himself. We know Shifty has a couple too. This is an aggressive roster. They're not scared to push into you, and why should they be? They've won 3 weeks in a row. That's $30,000, and Diazbiffle is also on a fresh win from another tournament that just took place, which was, I think, for $100,000. So the guy is raking in money. That's Louis Seum going down. Biffle's job's not done yet.
And there's a really big difference for a lot of people who are watching, maybe either for the first time or just wondering, what's the difference between aggression and poised aggression? Aggression is just running after a squad, trying to hunt them down, and just always taking gunfights like you see a lot of front subs do. But poised aggression is what this trio does. When they find a lane, an avenue to you, they will get to you, whether or not it takes them an extra couple of moments or maybe a minute to rotate out of the zone to get away from a gunfight. Once they find you, they're going to stay aggressive with their shots, of course, but when they find the avenue to kind of hunt you down and get across the map cleanly, they do so. They are just like, they're like attack dogs. They get after you very quickly, and they take their time to take out players left and right to eventually get to your position. So the big factor and the big fear for a lot of squads going against this trio is, can I hold on to my line of sight? Can I hold on to my high ground? Because if I run into Biffle, we're going to get challenged at some point, but they make it very difficult for you to rotate out of their line of sight. You just got to be careful.
They do. You got to be careful with them. You do, and that's like you said. They do rotate out of your line of sight very quickly, but they also re-engage even quicker. One thing I like about this trio is they're not scared to take low ground if they need to, and they see an advantage. A lot of teams will kind of turtle up on a rooftop. They'll get it down, and they'll be okay with that. But this team will pounce on you very, very quickly. Things do get a little bit dicey. Biffle was alone for just a couple of seconds. Sage is already coming back in. Shifty will be back relatively soon, and now we go into the dreaded water. I have seen so many tournament lives and teams ended by going into the water, but I guess here it seems necessary.
It is a last resort, but if it's a necessary one, that's what it takes. You want to do it between chaos and between zones. Like middle of the game, when a lot of people are starting to position for a late game, that's when you want to make your move. A couple of shots that do tag, but not enough to clean up. Biffle will escape for the moment. Sage with a couple of quick pings. I think Biffle has one around that he's currently on the hunt for, but you got our teammates kind of straggling behind, so your backline's clear. You got a loadout drop behind you even there, just in case you need to start siphoning off players, but Lockman in hand. Not the best weapon at range to work with here for Iceman Isaac, but it's more focused on, again, these close quarters engagements where he's going to be successful into the bathroom, gets punished, nicely done, good positioning. And he'll take down Sean J early on.
Yep, Sean J goes down. Sean J's had some great games recently. Been a big fan of her. Great streamer, good personality. But in that moment, yeah, that Lockman was just enough for Iceman Isaac to get to work with. Takes some shots, I believe, from the water. And he will drop down. Unfortunate, but you better believe he's going to be back with the vengeance. Now, down to 16 teams. We've already lost a couple more since we pointed that out a little bit earlier. And now we watch Empathy to see what he's going to be up to with Brax, who's trying to hold down such a big building. And this is very difficult to do because it has so many layers, and Brax is carefully working his way upstairs.
Layers is a very good word for how you kind of approach situations like this. Like it's a lot of like clear house, like take one level at a time, sure. But once you get positioned, you always have that feeling on the back of your neck that somebody could be moving up, whether it's above you from the ceiling or just rotating into your play. So you got to be careful, get your eliminations, get in, get out. If you're playing for a late game, be worried about the back exits, the entrances, where they might be. What's your exit strategy for getting out of a tight situation? Always make your exit on the way in. Because right now they just try to hunker down. It's this turtle up defense that works really well for late game, but it also comes down to the eliminations, whether or not they find a team kind of unsuspecting as they move through. Oh, yeah, they did.
Yep, they found one hanging behind the desk, the reception desk. They're going to pay them a visit. Maybe not. They do back away. A lot of respect given to the player, I guess, because he just caught him off, but maybe they're just looking to reposition and re-angle themselves. But more than likely, that player had a chance to get away. But it was Rios, actually, that Empathy took down. Rios filling in for FIFA Kill, as we talked about a little earlier. FIFA Kill, a very talented player. Seen a lot of great work from him as of recently, and Rios is going to have some big shoes to fill. And also taking down Inshian, another fill-in who's replacing Oki.
A lot of subs throughout this tournament. Week 4 is going to be very dicey, and it's usually means we're going to get a pretty exciting endgame for most of our squads. So I'm very much looking forward to that, though. I'll have to stun out for the moment. Gets enough on the tag, and here we go. The cleanup should happen momentarily. Here comes the fly in the check. It's all good. Nicely done. That's why you stack with numbers, something we've talked about in weeks 1 and 2. Very, very important, especially against the best of the best, what you're seeing in these lobbies. Always stack with numbers, have somebody available to trade. You have to throw shoulders like this, move up with the sub first. And this is where things get really, really dicey in these situations. You talked about before, reflections, layers. This is where it matters most. How do you approach the different situations?
Layers is the good way to put this moment. Look how small that zone has become, and right in the middle of it is going to be the water. So that's pretty much a no-go zone. We will see teams try go there, but it's not going to be the safest. And when you have to tunnel in a elevator shaft, you know you're not sitting too pretty. But I mean, you got to take whatever hard cover you can get. Pings are now out. You see the minimap. It absolutely lights up. We're down to 12 trios, 27 players still remaining. It's going to be a tightly compacted area, and the rooftops are seeing action. And at the moment, Skullface is trying to stay alive. He'll get the finish and the revive. Good play, Skullface. That keeps the team in, and he's not stopping there. He picks up yet another, plus the revive. Skullface is on fire.
Huge reach out as well. You get your teammate back up into the fight. Everything kind of evens out, and we're all kilted for the moment. About 6 eliminations to his name, working on a 7th before shots continue to ring out. Has to be careful here, but in situations like this, you're not worried about the mortar strike. You're more worried about getting out of dodge unscathed from the ARs on the opposite side. The parallel fights continue to go your way. Skullface with 2 huge eliminations to keep his team involved. Tags a 3rd, but this is where things get really, really dicey. How do you reposition out of the fight and get yourself on your way?
Still trying to hold on to this rooftop, and a little sliver of it is going to be in that safe zone once the circle closes. Now, one thing to take note of, guys, there is no moving zones here. It's just going to keep or continue to collapse and collapse until there's no more zone left. So you've got to continually push up and really think about how you want to attack the new circles as they do collapse down on themselves. And we're now back into the narrow stairways, which is always just so tense. You talk about the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. That's where they really do good. Downs, nice solid shots from Skullface.
Yeah.
This could be our trio winning game 1.
Well, they're usually contesting for top 4, if not top 2. They had a very slow week last week. They're certainly turning things around here. More pings continue from Mayapo, but how do you rotate? This is the tough part. You don't have the high ground anymore. Now you just have to commit. Maybe use the smokes as a double cover, try to get through the middle of the lane unscathed. It's probably not going to happen, but now's your best chance. As more players drop down, work through the chaos, smoke your way out of it, get through the cross, and here we go.
All right, Skullface is down, takes a little bit of damage from the drop. 2 nades are going to be at his feet, manages to get away, huddles inside of a bathroom, doubles back. He's down, so is his teammate. Self-revive potentially going off. And unfortunately, he's going to meet his end. Mayapo's going to be the last alive space who really has to carry the torch. Natasha also the last one alive, actually. Excuse me, Zept also in it, but Natasha is down. She's gone 7th place. We're running on fumes at this point.
I mean, that she's one of the last people you want to run into in a 1v1 gunfight. When it matters for placement, what she can do is disgusting. We saw it in, what, week 2 when she had that 1v5? Don't
Swagg.
run into her if you have the choice. She does fall, though, and into the water will get punished. Very difficult gunfight to win. Aydan, unsuccessful. Top 4 for that squad, so you already get the 4th place finish. That brings the whole storyline back around. Back over to, of course, Sage and company. I mean, this is the team we expected to be fighting for top 2, maybe taking a couple of 1st place finishes to start, working around the water, shots at range, always so clean. And they have a couple of teams locked up. They're just trying to get this game 1 win.
Alert going off, someone aiming, Biffle's down, but it's going to be spotted by Sage, who gets the final shots needed. Can't get the finish just yet. Self-revive might be being popped, but he's got to worry about the guy across the ravine. If he can get it, he'll double down. Last alive in the moment. We're now playing for top 2. Next squad to drop is going to get a 3rd place finish. And for Sage, this would be a big W. With the amount of eliminations they have, that 1.x multiplier would be nice.
The tough part here is I think he wants to make a move to the water, and he does, absolutely. Right in. We'll get the redeploy. That is a huge move. A massive call. Maybe you sacrifice yourself for the cause. That's okay. Pistol at least tags. It won't break. But back into the fray. How do you work with the Lockman? Oh, brother. Comes down to the water yet again. Great shots.
A Picnic, like you said, great shots. Takes a bit of damage, though. Watch out. That was Shifty dropping, and we're going to see a nice win come out from Picnic, Lovey, as well as Shadowwag with 27 eliminations. Not bad at all to start off the day. And I do believe, and I'll double-check my notes, that's going to match the game 1 from Biffle, Sage, and Shifty of last week, who ended up dropping and winning week number 3 with over or nearly 100 points. So we could be seeing that energy matched. Wonderful job from Picnic and Co. 27 elims. That is impressive.
That is, of course, the match that we had last week. And again, this